What's up everyone, I'm Mech, and today I want to talk about the compressor. It's easy to smash your grooves to bits with the compressor on the Digitakt. In this video I'll show you how you can use it to your advantage without making your grooves sound like they are being decimated. One thing I find problematic with the Digitakt compressor is that there's no indication of how much dB is being compressed. Therefore, it's pretty abstract. It depends on the radio setting, of course, but above 25%, it starts to be very audible. So try to keep it under that 25% or maybe 30-35% because I want the computer to glue my grooves, not to destroy the dynamics entirely. Since our ears tend to lie to us all the time, we tend to overdo things so it's really audible what is happening, right? So this is not a good idea when using a compressor. Most of the time you want to use it in a subtle way, or at least make it so that it is not very apparent that there's something being compressed. So today I've chosen one of those grooves that the compressor works really well for, even when using it pretty excessively, so you can hear what it does exactly. In some down-tempo music it can have a nice effect as well to really smash it down, but in techno you'll just destroy your low end most of the time and the punch. So this is the groove I'm talking about, and I'll show you what happens when I set it at limiter and threshold really low. This just sounds horrible, but I've seen a couple of videos online where this was happening and I was like, God, don't do that. It's not needed, really. So this is the main reason why I love this compressor so much, and that is what I use it for 90% of the time. The Digitakt is limited in its sound shaping ability, and there's no EQ on each track, which I would love to have, by the way. So there's a big chance some sounds have overlapping frequencies, resulting in sudden peaks on the master that we don't want, right? Loudness is another reason. Using the compressor as the limiter lets me push the overall loudness a little bit, which is nice. But I like to use it in a subtle way, just to control the most extreme peaks. So let's limit this groove. We have this groove going. It's not limiting or compressing at all at the moment because of the threshold at 127, which is 0 basically. Let's limit this groove. First set the compression ratio to 20:1, right? So now set the attack to 0 because the limiter has to be as fast as possible. Now set the threshold low enough so you can see some compression going on. That's why I keep it like this, like 10-15%, maybe 20% at the utmost peaks, because otherwise it will be really audible and not in a good way. Now let's set the release. The release should be really low because we want the compressor to only compress the peaks down to a normal level and then return to the original signal as fast as possible. So most of the time I set this between 5 and 20. This is a dry signal. So that's it. It's not something that is super noticeable, and that's a good thing. It's only meant for smoothing the master output and making the groove a bit louder overall. It is possible to go for a very compressed sound. If you want a strong pumping effect or sidechain effect, it is possible with this compressor. Though the sidechain of the compressor is a bit different than you'd expect. Normally you can set a compressor on a signal and choose the kick track as a sidechain, for instance. But this is a master compressor, so the kick is coming through the master compressor as well, even though it's chosen as a sidechain source. So basically when you use it, you will just smash your kick away when using it as a sidechain option. I can show you. I set it to a very extreme setting. Let's set it to T1. You can hear how ugly this is. You have a pumping effect, but it's just totally smashing away the kick, which is not very nice. To solve this, we're going to use parallel compression by using the dry-wet knob. which means mixing the original uncompressed signal with the compressed signal. This is very handy as you can bring back the dynamics and low end from the original while still having the smashed compressed sound. This is the only way we can get that sidechain pumping effect in this compressor. Let's see how that sounds. And this way you can use the compressor pretty in an extreme way. So set it higher, because as you can hear, this is the original signal. And this is the compressed signal. It's really pumping, but there's no kick, right? Now bring back the dry signal. And let's turn up the wet signal volume. So here, and you have to really tweak it, and yeah, you have to tweak it well to make it sound just right. But as you can hear, we have that pumping effect while still having the kick in the signal, which is nice. The high pass and low pass filter option can be useful as well. It filters the sidechain signal before it is analyzed and compressed. So when we set the sidechain to L+R, which basically means sidechain is off, we can use the low pass filter to have the compressor only respond to bass frequencies. This is good for a more natural sounding, less obvious pumping effect. You can see the clap opens up while the low end is controlling the compressor. Nice. Cool. So this is one of those grooves that kind of sounds okay with a lot of compression. I'll just show you which settings I just found out for this groove that I'm probably going to use instead of the limiter option. Let's see. I'm opening up the attack to give some punch back. Let's set it to 6 ratio. Short. There we go. I want the signal to return to 0 before the compressor gets triggered again. And now I'm gonna lower the threshold to see how it sounds when I do it in an extreme way. So this is pretty extreme compression. Let's use the gain to make up for the gain loss. See, when I lower the attack, it sounds horrible. This is when I higher the attack. We have a lot of punch and the low end is just rolling now. It's pretty nice. This is the dry signal. This is the compressed signal. It's a bit extreme. I don't think I'm gonna keep it this extreme, but you get the idea. As you can see, the Digitakt compressor is very versatile. Use it gently or smash your dynamics to bits. Whatever you want.